The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Obviously, I am not Jason McPhee, so unless I was miraculously transformed recently.
You're just identifying it.
Yes. Just for today, I'm identifying as Jason McPhee. Okay. All right. No.
You know, you could. What's wrong with being an Irish black man? I mean, seriously.
You don't even have to wear a kilt to be Irish, Leon.
That's right. Yeah, there's certain one on St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's Irish. So
everybody's Irish. Okay, so today is not St. Patrick's Day, but I could still be Irish. But no. Anyway, on a serious note, I am sitting in today as a host, and Jason will resume his duties at our next recording of the show. I am Leon Brathwaite, the last word in liberty. In my upper left-hand corner is our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. In your upper right-hand corner is our champion of choice, Jason McPhee. So we have quite a few topics to get into today. And we're going to talk a little bit about crime and crime committed against our children and crime committed in society. One of the first things that I wanted us to touch on today was what is going on in Chicago, which I consider a crime against our children. The Chicago teachers have voted to not return to in-person teaching because of the Omicron virus. They want to go fully remote. And they have voted as such. Almost 3/4 of them voted not to return to the classroom. There's even a couple of teachers who have said clearly that anybody who show up to the classrooms will be reported. I don't know to who, but they will be reported on. Now, there's no science behind this move. None whatsoever. The classrooms are safe. Lots of money have been given to the schools to make them even safer, to make sure that the ventilation systems are working. All of that have gone on. But yet, these teachers who so care about our children, who want to educate our children, they have decided that they will not return to the classroom. Even though we know in-person instruction is paramount in the development of our children and our children's education. You must remember at all times, as we go through this, that it's always about the children. The question that we have to answer today, and I think we should always answer, will this offense against our children start the equivalent of the Boston Tea Party, where parents are going to finally wake up and revolt against the tyranny of the zip code? And these Chicago teachers will be finally put in their place, which is that they are our servants, and they should act like it. Or should I add, can we really save our children from the overlords who are destroying their future? What do you guys think about this? Jason, why don't you start us off?
Well, I tell you, it seems like our government monopolized public education system has sort of had our kids on a fast track to dumb for quite a while, and that's just more of the same. But now, I mean, they're getting to the point where, I mean, it's almost like no, not even a fig leaf on it. They're not even trying to say it's it's important enough to be there. For something like Omicron, where, I mean, essentially we're talking about something that's manifesting about the seriousness of a cold with most people.
Exactly.
And yet they're willing to toss out kids' education. I mean, that's already been heavily impacted for the last year or so. I mean, I can't think of and we've sort of talked about this before on the show, but I can't think of a better opportunity for us to have had school choice to deal with a problem like COVID, because different schools then would be able to address the problem in different ways. And some might address it with distance learning. Some might address it with ways to stay safe and come to school at the same time. But the point is, without competition and just slamming it down from the top, we don't get to see very much. We get a little bit of competition between states, but much better just to move towards competition and markets on education. I think we'd see kids, aside from the whole COVID issue, I think we'd see them do much, much better than they're currently doing with our government monopoly public education.
Yes.
Yes. I think that's the absolute end solution. But I'm kind of wondering, do these teachers not have to work? I mean, can they just not work? I mean, is that okay? And they don't have to worry about getting fired, laid off, or anything. The city of Chicago has no recourse. I mean, what if they said, look, it's too dangerous forevermore to go in front of students and teach them. We might get the sniffles or we might get a little cough. So therefore, we're not going to do anything for you ever. And we want to get our full salaries and benefits and vacation and everything in spite of that. And so is that what they can do? I mean, is that okay? Because that's what it is right now. It's what they're doing. They're just telling the city of Chicago to go pound sand. Yes. And that we're going to stay home and never, ever come into class until we're darn good and ready. And it's ultra safe for us to do so. Seriously. And who decides if it's safe enough for the teachers? Well, it's the teachers, of course. Who else? And so is this legal? And the city has no recourse. They can't hire anyone else and just say, okay, you guys can stay home permanently, but we're not going to pay you, because we don't pay people to stay home. I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer. Is that it?
They are all valid questions. They are all valid questions.
Just to jump in with a possible answer here, Judge Napolitano, he has a new podcast that he started, and he had a 4-minute spiel on this just yesterday, I think. And he said that it's illegal for them to strike because they're public workers. Apparently, that's what he was saying. But I can't remember now quite what the issue was. But I guess they can be forced by penalizing the union. Maybe. I mean, they might be able to do that. I think that's what he was getting at. So if they think it's like a de facto strike, even though it's not an official strike, I guess, of them not coming in. So that's something Napolitano is usually pretty sharp on these things, so it's something our viewers might look into if they want a little more on this.
Okay, so if it's illegal, like he says, then what's the recourse? I mean, we do a lot of illegal things. It doesn't mean we get in trouble for it. So are they going to get in trouble for it? Let's say it is totally illegal. What's going to happen to them, the teachers? Anything?
Well, the city, the mayor, who's a Democrat and who was previously heavily supported by the teachers' unions, she said it was an illegal strike. Those were her words, not mine.
A legal strike.
An illegal.
Illegal.
An illegal strike. So if that is the case, why do they not have recourse? There should be some recourse to this.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem is that she could hire other teachers and just fire some of these people, I believe. But the problem is that, where are you going to get the teachers from, right? I mean, if they're all working for the government already and they're all staying home, who are you going to get to come in, right? So I think that's part of the problem.
Probably. I'll bet you they have a law that says that any teachers hired by the city of Chicago have to belong to the teachers union.
Probably so.
But that's a law.
Probably so.
I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not saying I know. I'm just wondering.
It probably is the case. Well, I don't know if that will still be the case, given the we had a decision from the Supreme Court. I was still working when the decision came out that said that they don't, as a condition of employment, you do not have to join the union. I paid dues to a union for 28 and a half years, and it's only in my last year and a half at work that I did not pay. But so I don't know if it will be legal for them to have such a law on the books. But if you guys remember, maybe you guys are not, well, no, Tim would be old enough to know this, and he should be familiar with this. In 1981, the air traffic controllers, they had an illegal strike, but Ronald Reagan was bold enough, and he did what should have been done, was he fired all of them. And I was wondering, why in the hell can, like, so long and
you're freezing up, Leon.
It's all about the church. You don't fire them.
Yeah. It looked like you were freezing up a little, but I think we got the gist. Why don't they fire them? And
yes,
I think it comes
like
down
Reagan
to yeah. But who are you going to hire to replace them with? I think is the big issue. So I don't know. It's but I mean, this is the thing. Why be there in the first place, right?
Hey, I got an idea. Hire the bus drivers and the people at the cafeteria.
Michigan, as Michigan is doing, right? Bringing them
There
in.
you go.
Yeah. Apparently, it's not going to, according to them, I guess it's not going to impact their education that much. Swap out.
By their own standards, that is absolutely true.
You could probably grab a homeless guy and put him in front of the class. You'd probably do a better job.
Yeah, we have plenty homeless in San Francisco and some here in Sacramento. Maybe we should ship them to Chicago and see if they'll probably do better.
Hey, yeah, give it a shot. All right, what's next, Leon?
So talking about crime as we move it along. Talking about crime, I want to talk a little bit about the Manhattan DA, just installed last week as the new DA of Manhattan. His name is Alvin Bragg. But what he wants to do is to reduce mass incarceration. And how does he plan to do this? Lower prison sentences, fewer arrests. Some felonies will now become misdemeanors, like armed robbery, as long as nobody was shot, will become a misdemeanor under his new policy. This is insanity. But the thing is that I find most offensive about this is the use of the word mass incarceration. Because mass incarceration sounds like, you know what? The government is just walking the streets, taking people off the street, dumping them into prison. They are incarcerated, no trial, never coming before a judge. But these people are using this word mass incarceration to stir up this grave injustice that is going on in our society, and never once asking, why are these people incarcerated in the first case? So what do you think about Mr. Alvin Bragg and his new policies?
Well, I guess I'll jump in then. Some of the crimes that he doesn't want to prosecute sound kind of almost libertarian in a way. He wants to stop prosecuting prostitution and marijuana use. And so some of these actually don't sound that bad. But on the other hand, trespassing, you mentioned armed robbery, Leon, that's just nuts. I mean, the bottom line is, if you're assaulting a person or their property, that has to be the number one job of government. If they can't do that, what's the point of having government? I mean, literally, that's got to be the number one job of government, is to protect people and their property. And if they're going to just abandon that job, then I think at that point, it's like, why are we paying taxes? Why are we having a government at all?
Yeah, I agree. with what Jason said, although I'd be a little more emphatic about the prostitution and the marijuana use. Go ahead. I mean, why should you be prosecuting that in the first place? But anyway, yeah, that's up for debate. But so that'd be where I'd come from. And then they wonder why, but they have this stuff where they go into the armed robbery, and then they wonder why people want to buy guns.
Yes.
Which is going to segue hopefully into our next thing about Hollywood.
Into our next thing, yes.
Yeah.
Are you done with your comments?
Yeah, I'm done.
Done. But I just want to leave you with a little bit of lunacy from this man, okay? He said our safety must be based on our community and on fairness. It cannot be driven solely by incarceration. Getting back to my issue of mass incarceration. So I'll leave you with that lunacy, and let's go on into our next topic, which has to do with who are buying guns in Los Angeles. I want you to remember the history of Los Angeles. It's a stronghold of liberalism, where these rich, mostly white elites tell us that gun control is the most wonderful thing next to sliced bread. But now that their policies are blowing up in their face, now that crime is spiraling out of control, they have surely discovered their Second Amendment rights, and they have certainly found religion, that now they want to buy guns. But there is a problem that someone highlighted, and it was in that article that I posted, that there are two criteria that they use to decide who can buy a gun and who cannot. The first one is that it must be someone of good moral character. No problem, okay. But the second one is that there must be just cause for you to be granted a license. Now that just cause is very arbitrary and is determined by some bureaucrat in the sheriff office, I believe. Some are contending that there's a racial element to this, in the sense that rich white elites can get the guns, whereas the poor, mostly minority, blacks and Hispanics, are not able to easily access guns. So what do you guys think about this, about the finding of religion and the possible racial element of what is going on in Los Angeles right now?
Well, if I could just jump in about the just cause, that's about carrying a concealed weapon, not about owning a firearm. So you can still own a firearm. It's just, we're talking specifically about not just owning it, but also carrying a firearm concealed. Now, in that, I can debate that every which way you want, but just to verify that for the audience. That's what they were referring to.
Okay.
The just cause is just filled with stupid innuendos. For example, it's not legal to kill somebody over just specifically stealing goods. I mean, if they said, "Hey, I don't want to shoot you or anything. I don't even have a gun, but I'm going to take your suitcase filled with diamonds here," and you resist by pulling out a gun and killing them. Okay, it's okay. The just cause would be if you carry diamonds in a suitcase around, but it's not just cause if you're trying just to defend your life in these crazy laws in California, and Leon, my experience has been that there's nothing to do with racism. It's just to do with a completely distorted view of what the Second Amendment is and what right to life, liberty, and property is all about. And so they will just as vigorously deny me the right to carry a concealed weapon as they would you. Makes no difference. They hate it. The majority of sheriffs that make these decisions in the different cities and counties across California they hate the whole idea of a armed citizenry out walking around with a concealed weapon. They just hate it, and they don't care if you're Leon Brathwaite or Tim Everett or Jason McPhee or Joe Blow. They just flat hate it, and so there you have it.
Well, it's just a real quick add-on to all that. I think this just goes back to what we were talking about in the last story. Government seems to have, in a lot of these Californians' eyes now, abandoned their responsibility to protect people and their property, and now people are responding to that by going to buy guns to do the job that government was supposed to be doing, or at least that's what they believed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and in the process, it's one thing to keep, but you also have you have the right to bear. To keep, It wasn't keep or bear; it was keep and bear.
And bear. Yes.
And I know people convolute that whole thing bear. It just means to carry it. Okay, dimwit. It means that yes, you have the right to arm yourself and walk around amongst other people fully armed, and that's what creates a polite society. That's what creates a civilized society.
Indeed.
Is people having weapons on them.
It's some good guys with guns, right, Tim?
Yeah, exactly. And this is a perfect segue into our next segment. Good guys with guns. And Tim will lead us in this segment.
All right, this good guy with guns is from San Pablo on December 13th of this last year, 2021. Authorities say Manuel Moreno, 29, robbed an employee at a Nations restaurant in San Pablo at gunpoint and probably had no idea that there was an off-duty cop inside watching his every move. KTVU has learned that UC Berkeley Police Sergeant Brian Sato was having lunch with his wife when he saw the robbery. The cashier told KTVU the sergeant then challenged the suspect. He yelled at him to drop his weapon, the employee said. Now, here's the employee did something right. I ran, and all I heard was a gunshot. Good on her. I don't know how many were shot. I just heard one. Okay, she got out of Dodge. That's what you do when guns start coming out, start running. Okay. So the KTVU legal analyst, Michael Cardoza, noted that many police officers, while off duty, carry their service weapon as an alternative weapon, which at the time they're acting off duty, they are citizens at that time. They're no longer police officers. Anyway, Cardoza says cases like these should serve as a warning to would-be robbers. So when you walk in somewhere, there just might be an off-duty police officer there armed and trained on how to use it. There might be a regular old citizen, too, pretty good at it. In fact, Sergeant Sato is the lead firearms instructor and range master or shooting range supervisor for the UC Berkeley Police Department and has served overseas as an Army reservist. So he knew how to shoot his gun. In fact, the suspect served time in federal prison for robbing several East Bay banks of $6,000 in 2012 and 13. In a sentencing memo, prosecutors wrote, the defendant's criminal conduct has demonstrated a concerning history of violence that appears to be escalating. In the final bank robberies, the defendant moved from telling the victim tellers that he had a gun to outright threats to shoot them. Cardoza says the sergeant appears to be justified in shooting the armed suspect. You are the one with the gun. People don't know what you're going to do with that. They don't know if you give them money, if you're going to shoot them after, he said. Sato is on administrative leave from the UC Berkeley Police Force. The shooting is under investigation by the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office. There you have it.
Okay. So just to be clear, why do we do this good guy with guns segment? Jason, you want to tell us?
Well, I think we just want to make sure there's a little bit of balance out there. You hear about all the bad stories of somebody commits a crime with a gun. So we just want to make it clear that I think, as Tim indicated, maybe an armed society is a more well-behaved society.
It is. Yeah. Armed society is a civilized society.
Civilized society. There's no doubt about that one.
What's that?
No, that's right. Absolutely right. An armed society is a civilized society. I said there's no doubt about that.
Oh, okay. I think I'll read
so let's move on
little...
to Knuckleheads Noise Patrol. And Jason, again, I'm disappointed in you because you don't have the Knucklehead song. Okay, but this particular knucklehead noise patrol involve AOC, our favorite target. But and we even spoke about this particular knucklehead previously, but there have been some interesting comments that I think we should just talk about once again involving this woman. If you remember, she was photographed without a mask in Florida. She's from New York, and when the criticism became public, her response was, "If Republicans are mad, they can't date me. They can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations on to my boyfriend's feet." Now you can sense the arrogance in this woman, okay? It's unbelievable, okay? But AOC, as a result of, and I don't, and a result of
Oh, you're freezing up, Leon. Uh-oh. Well, you know what? I'll just jump in. This is, she apparently, she went down there to Florida. She decided, she's one of those people who think it's just great for lockdowns and masks. And where does she go when she wants to vacation? To a place that doesn't have lockdowns and masks.
Right, exactly.
But it's funny, though, too. You brought up that fact of her trying to say this is just Republicans who are sour grapes because they want to date her and can't. I guess, I don't know. Remember, during January 6th, she wasn't even in the building, and she claimed that she was worried she was going to be raped, right? I mean, this woman is just somehow thinking everybody wants to be with her in an intimate way. And I guess to put any rest to that, as long as she just keeps talking and keeps spewing out nonsense, I think that'll put a lot of that to rest.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for jumping in, but let me give you some of the comments that came back because of that. Since she's not COVID positive, but this is what the Babylon Bee had to say. AOC accuses COVID virus of just wanting to date her. And Ben Shapiro said AOC got COVID because COVID is obsessed with her boyfriend's feet, which I thought quite interesting from both of those sources. Tim, did you have anything to add to this?
I just want to say there's only one female Democrat that I want to date, and we all know who she is. Tulsi Gabbard.
The only sane Democrat we're aware of. Anyway.
Yes, the only sane Democrat. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
But this woman, to me, she represents all that is wrong with the Democratic Party and all that is wrong with their mentality. Okay, it cannot be that they have done anything wrong. It's always because of something else from someone else. In this particular case, is the sexual frustrations of the Republicans, and they're projecting their frustrations on her boyfriend's feet. This is just maddening and unbelievable, and somewhat arrogant too, as far as I can tell. Anyway, we have now come to the end of our show. And thank you guys for participating in it. And thank you for listening and seeing this show. Please like and subscribe to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are now at the end. Stay free. Have a very nice day. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.